So for me at least, this might end up a bit time skip style, because I'm going to start taking the engine apart now, so I can get the block and the crankshaft to a machine shop who are going to figure out what they can do with it, whether there's any more damage. So obviously it has been damaged in the past and has had this custom thrust washer made. Now they've said they can make one, obviously, but we need to figure out whether that's a good idea or not. So that might take some time for them to actually do the work. But before they can, I've got to get the block to them. So I'm going to get on, take all the ancillaries off, and I'm wondering whether I just get myself some measuring tools and do some of the measuring work myself, just so I know what's going on. I think this engine's probably about 30,000 miles old at a maximum, so it shouldn't be too heavily worn in terms of cylinder bores and so on. But if it's going to come apart, we best have a look, because there's no point in just chucking it back together and finding out that there was other stuff that should have been done. So let's get going. What I'm trying to tackle now is the crankshaft pulley nut here. Now I do have a socket that fits it, however it's 1/2 inch drive and I don't have anything to drive it with. So I was going to use plan to use the rattle gun, but I can't. So I've got the great big spanner out and the lever jammed against some bolts in the end of the crankshaft, and I'm going to see how far I get. For these engines, that's a 1/7/16 AF spanner. It's also marked 7/8 UH on the back. I don't actually know what that is. Because I did just go and try and see if I could go out and buy the bits I needed. I can't, I've had to order them. So we can get the top end off and have a look at the head. Now there have been some signs of false recession on this head, so the gaps closing up, the rocker gaps. So it'll be interesting to see what it actually looks like. I have got a spare head that looks reasonably usable, so if this one is on its way out, hopefully the other one will do it. Okay, so all the head knots are off, though I've put two back on. I'm expecting to have to turn it upside down, but there is a chance this might just lift. Nope. I know it's been on for probably about 15 years now, actually, so it's got plenty of time to get stuck. So I am going to turn the whole thing over and give it a bash with a soft hammer and see if that will encourage it to Okay, so the head came off relatively easily, which is not surprising. I know it's not been too long, not too many miles. This one stud's quite rusty, which is something to be looked at. So it doesn't feel, obviously you can't really tell anything by this. It doesn't feel like there's any ridge on the cylinders. Again, I don't think this engine's done very much in the way of mileage really. It's only because this problem with the crankshaft and the machine shop wanting to see the whole thing. I'm taking it apart. But anyway, it's probably as far as we can go. Well, I'll get the head studs out, I guess, but it's going to be as far as I can go with the block until I can get the crankshaft pulley knot off. And here we are, heads on the bench, and all the other bits to have a look through and check. Okay, so let's have a look at the rocker shaft. So I'll start here, start getting some bits inspected and dealt with. So I'm not, let's see what it's like. I'm not expecting a huge amount of wear. The engine in general it's not gone very far since it's rebuilt, however that much is, but it's worth having an inspect. And for example, that rocker, which is also the furthest from our, well, no, it's the closest to our oil feed. I'm going to take it apart, have a look at the shaft, probably clean up the faces a little bit to check that they are not horribly worn, and we can replace any of that. actually see it's worn away the oil passage. So from the hole to this divot. Or maybe that was the problem, maybe that wasn't sufficiently pronounced enough to start with. Anyway, okay, well. I actually have another spare rocker shaft, so I'm just going to have a look and see if it's in a similar, better or worse condition. Nipped out to get an adapter for the large socket. I bought something, it was wrong, then it turned out I could buy the thing I actually needed locally, but that's all it took. Breaker bar with a bit of pipe as extension, and it shifted, so can move on. So I'm still doing a bit of clean up on the rockers and rocker parts, but I've been looking at how to decide if they are still usable. So obviously there's the faces that contact the top of the valves, which need to be, you know, not horribly warm. But I was wondering actually what sort of clearance we are allowed here. This is where the pedestal with the oil feeds at, so we know that bit for sure is going to be as it came, as it was supplied. Now if we put the rocker on there, it rocks, this particular one, and I haven't managed to find, so the Triumph manual just says replace warm parts. Yes, of course. But I had a look up and I found a figure for a steel on steel or iron on steel tolerance that you'd expect, or expect to be valid, and it's 2.8 to 3.2 thou, which, well, I've got a 3 thou feeler gauge here, and what I'm going to do is kind of lay that on the shaft, and you can see I can quite easily slide it up. And if I go up to 4 thou, that one will just go up without going to 2. So the rocking I could feel, I think, means this particular rocker is no good. And as comparison, I've got an unused new old stockwork one, and with this one, let's get 3 thou out again. I can't get that feeler in. And I can just about get 2 in. So that's telling me, I mean, there's wear on the shaft. There must be wear in the inside of the rockers because they're the same material. I also suspect that these rockers I have on the car being refaced at some point, because you can actually see this is the new one and this is the old one. You can see there's more material on the face of it. It could just be difference in manufacture, year, casting, whatever, but I think unfortunately some of these are not going to survive. So when I've cleaned up both shafts, I'm going to go through and check those, check all of them there. I also have a couple of new, well, I have a full set of new rather than new old rockers. And similarly, we start with 2000 this time. Could just about get that in. So this is 2000 on the brand new rocker, just about goes. And 3. Will not. So given there is differential wear on the old one or on the old shaft, it's possible that there's some still usable. Now, of course, you could do something like have these old ones bushed, but I'm not sure for the use to which this engine is going to be put, if that is a worthwhile thing to do. Because these, obviously, this style did last, you know, for however many thousands of these cars that were built of the various different models, and it's not a race car. Yeah, so I'm going to go, and when I've cleaned everything up, I'm going to measure and see what's going on there. So I've cleaned up and measured all of the rockers off the set that was on the car and the space that I had, and they are all looking like the actual bores are too worn to continue. So I still want to check these numbers, but from the feel of what we've got, they feel too wobbly, and they are definitely worn relative to the Noss Leyland ones I have and the new ones. Anyway, so while that's been going on, while I've been cleaning stuff, I've also been taking apart the head. So I've got the studs out, and I'm about to take the Val Springs off. So on a Herald, the way you can do this, you don't actually need a spring compressor. You can just take a little bit of wood. So this is just will just fit in the combustion chamber. Put it underneath the valves, and then, I've never actually done this before, but this is what's supposed to happen. Should be able to do it by hand. I'm going to go buy pliers. Oh, there we are. And again on the Herald, well, at least on the 1360, I think these should all be the same. And we've got the top, the spring, and then I think that should be a collet under there. It will move, yeah. a look at these properly when I've had a chance to get them cleaned up. But it actually doesn't look too bad. There's a bit of damage on the exhaust valve seat, but not quite as bad as I was expecting. I do still also have a Spitfire head I'm considering putting on this. Two rocker shafts back together, so I've got the order of parts for when I've got a new shaft and can put new rockers on. I've done a bit of looking around, and as far as I can tell, this style without the spacer is a bit earlier, and this is Spitfire Mark III onwards. The pedestals definitely were used. So the pedestals both have different part numbers printed on them, embossed on them, marked, whatever. Moulded would be the right word. And these earlier ones are listed for the earlier cars, 1200 up to midway through the 1360. And these later ones are listed for the later 1360 and onwards. I've been trying to see if there's any... So dimensionally there appears to be no real difference. I suspect we're going to end up with these two. Maybe these two will actually be better placed on the valves. I guess that's what this spacer is for. Or it could simply be because actually these three springs are the same length as these two. So this is a second length of spring. So it could just be that having some spacers was cheaper than having an extra spring. Anyway, I'm going to get this put away so they're out of the way, and then have a look at the head a bit better. Okay, so this has had a very quick go over with brass wire brush, and I think this is actually what I'm looking at. So you can see, well, I can see definitely. I don't know if it's going to come out on the camera, but this exhaust valve is visibly, well, lower as we're looking at it, but further into the head. And measuring it, that's 1.05 millimeters. That's 1.58. So it's assuming that they're supposed to protrude by the same amount, which is probable. Is that junk? Oh yeah, I can see as well. The contact area of the exhaust valve is also greater. So it might be time to look at the other head to see how that is. So now we're looking at a Spitfire Mark III head that I got spare, and so visually these, so I have no idea of the history of this. Someone had it in a garage for however long, and it presumably inherited or otherwise acquired because the fella selling it didn't know what the bits were. Anyway, so visually, this is, so I've just gone over again quickly with the brass wire brush. these two valves look about the same, they've got about the same protrusion. Out of the head. So, and if we measure them, that's 2.14mm. And that's 2.14, 2.16. So I think, well, I can be convinced that the valve recessing into the head, it was actually signs I am seeing valve seat with recession on the Herald's head. So I'm going to have a look at, well, that means that head needs work. So I may as well think about fitting, well, I am thinking about fitting this Spitfire head, and potentially a Spitfire cam as well, just take it fully to a Mark III spec. So I'll have a clean up of this and see what the valves, well, got to get some other stuff cleaned off the bench first. But I will have a clean up of this head as well and see what the valve seats themselves look like. It could just be a case of being able to use it. They may want a lap. They may be useless, who knows. But I think it's quite interesting to actually be able to see and measure the what VSR actually looks like. Because I was expecting to see a lot more damage to the valve seats, so pitting, and the valve seats and valves. But it is just wearing its way into the head, which, I mean, that's what the name says it should be doing. Guess it makes sense. Okay, well, I'll keep on cleaning and come back when there's something to see. So there's the head with the valves out. So, pre-clean up is looking okay. But, gotta keep going. I've been using my, relatively new to me, Val Springs compressor, which is actually the proper Churchill tool. It's quite exciting, and it didn't cost very much on eBay, which is also, you know, sometimes that happens. Okay, let's do a bit more cleanup and see how we go. So, interestingly, this head has already had valve seats fitted, which maybe means we got lucky. You've seen as well, I tried to give this gasket face a clean up with one of the paint strip wheels. So the face is not looking particularly clever. I'm looking at the, it's going to come on camera, probably not. Let's try. Focus. Yeah, it's definitely because there's been surface rust on the head. There's a bit of pitting, so it's probably going to be wise to have this faced. So given it's already damaged, I can't make it any worse. So I'm going to go over the whole thing with a strip disc and we'll see what it looks like. Because I think, well, I mean maybe you could get away with that. But I'm taking the engine to be checked. I'm sure they can skim the tiny bit off the head just to get rid of this surface damage. And we look what the rest of it looks like. So that's all the valves cleaned up. There's a couple that don't look too bad. but what's this one? The 3, I think. And you see on the edge here, it's somewhat damaged, so it's no longer entirely round. So whatever else, I think new inlet are going to be on the cards, but I feel like there's pitting on the exhaust valves. So I'm feeling out maybe a set is in order. I actually have some probably exhaust valves for this head. Okay, so I'm going to give the check of valve wear. So to do this, the manual says lift it slightly out of its seat, and the movement shouldn't exceed 0.5 mil. So this is now pushed so it will be all the way down. 6.74 that one. Six 6.55. 1.7. Nice. Okay, so that one is just in spec, but only just. So looking like new valve guides there too. Well, shortly there's going to be nothing left to take apart, but I want to kind of push on, get everything out of the block, because then I'm going to be able to take it to be machined, and I'm going to have to wait for that, so I want to just get it done. So let's have the timing chain cover off, cam out, cams off, cam out. What do I do? These are bolts moving, so one stud there. And bolts, screw, bolt, bolt. So I end up managing to shift them with just a bit of extra leverage and a good lean on the back of the screwdriver. It looks like it. Okay, so let's get the pistons out. I thought there should have been some sort of number or marking to tell me what this was. It does not appear to be. So, came off that way round. So I can't see an orientation on the cap itself, or the dirt mark there. Well, the battery died there, but you didn't really miss much. Two is Mark II, so going well so far. Don't have. That was the bearing that just sort of shot out the bearing on the con rod, or the not the cap. We don't have the locator on this one. So it also says number 4 on it. So, I think, no, it's just muck. I know, it is. Yes, we've got our diagonal line going that way as indicating that orientation. And we don't need to worry about getting this one in the wrong, because this has the little bolts in it pointing out that way to retain the thrust washer. It's the only one, not sure though. Don't know if it's possible to get this one the wrong way around either. This one has also been marked with this little symbol. I think it's on this one too. Okay, well, that means they can come out. This is going to have to wait. It occurs to me that I need to have something for the crankshaft to sit on, which I don't, so I will have to cut some blocks of wood. Yeah, so it's now the day after I've been able to get out again and cut some blocks of wood, get the crankshaft out. That's on the bench, and there's a lot of stuff to deal with. So I've got a lot of cleaning up to do, and hopefully I can get the block and the crankshaft at least taken to be machined. But I think for the moment I'm going to end this here, because it's going to be a lot of cleaning, and then we're going to have a look at some measurements of the crankshaft and the cylinders, just to see what's going to need doing or not. So thanks for watching, commenting, subscribing, and see you later.